The observation deck of the Thrindle combat arena hummed with the low murmur of 1,000 species placing bets, and at the center of it all, painted in violet hololight 40 meters tall, stood the name Korath the Unbroken. Emma leaned against the railing, arms crossed, watching the crowd ripple with excitement. Beside her, Alex was doing what Alex always did before a fight. Nothing. No stretching, no posturing, no dramatic breathing exercises. He just stood there, hands in his pockets, looking faintly bored. "You know he's undefeated," Emma said. 211 fights. Nobody's landed a clean hit on him in 6 years. "I heard," Alex said. "They call him the Unbroken because nothing breaks his guard. Not blades, not plasma, not psionics. He reads intent before you move." "I heard that too." Emma studied him. 3 years of fighting alongside Alex across a dozen war-torn systems had taught her that his silence meant one of two things. He wasn't listening, or he'd already solved the problem and was simply waiting for everyone else to catch up. She was fairly sure it was the second one, because Alex had watched exactly 4 minutes of Koratha's fight footage before turning off the screen and going to get noodles. "You didn't even finish watching his last match," she said. "Didn't need to." Alex finally looked at her, and there was something in his eyes that made the Thrindle betting agents nearby quietly revise their odds, though they couldn't have said why. "I saw enough." Korath the Unbroken was, by any reasonable measure, a monster built for exactly this purpose. 9 feet of gray-plated hide over a skeleton reinforced with subdermal crystal lattice, for arms ending in retractable serrated claws, and a nervous system so fast that his species had bred out the need for conscious reaction time. He didn't dodge attacks. He simply wasn't where the attack was, because his body had already known, half a second before his opponent committed, exactly where the strike would land. 211 fights. 211 opponents who had trained for years, who had studied his patterns, who had brought exotic weapons and forbidden techniques, and every single one of them had died without ever touching him. The arena announcer's voice boomed across every frequency the crowd's translators could parse. Tonight's challenger, the human, Alex, of Sector 9. A wave of laughter rolled through the stands. Humans were newcomers to the Combine, barely a decade into interstellar contact, famous mostly for being stubborn, disturbingly resilient for their size, and completely unable to sense intent the way every other sapient species could. No aura, no pre-motion tell. To Koratha's kind, humans were essentially blind fighters swinging in the dark, which was, Emma thought as she watched Alex step onto the arena floor, exactly the point everyone kept missing. Korath didn't bother with a battle stance. He simply walked to the center of the ring, for arms loose at his sides, and looked down at the smaller, softer creature across from him with something between pity and boredom. "You should not have come," Korath said, his translated voice a rumbling static. "I feel your intent before you form it. There is no throw, no strike, no blade you can bring that I will not already be gone from." "Cool," Alex said. "Ready when you are." The bell, an actual physical bell, a tradition the Combine had adopted from an old human boxing broadcast without fully understanding why, rang. Korath moved first, a blur of gray muscle, claws already sweeping toward where his senses told him Alex's throat would be in exactly 0.4 seconds. Except Alex wasn't building toward a throat strike at all. He simply stepped forward and drove his shoulder into Koratha's sternum with the flat, unhurried economy of a man closing a heavy door. Korath hit the ground. The arena went silent. For 6 years, no one had put Korath the Unbroken on his back. His entire fighting style was built on reading the coiled intention behind an attack, the way muscles tensed before a punch, the way weight shifted before a kick, the subtle bioelectric bloom that every sentient species, except, apparently, this one, gave off half a second before committing to violence. Alex didn't telegraph anything, because Alex, in that moment, hadn't been intending to hit him at all. He'd just been walking forward, the way a person walks toward a door they plan to open, and the shoulder check had simply been where his body ended up. Korath surged back up, for arms flaring, genuinely furious now. He came in low, fast, all 4 claws raking for a disemboweling crosscut that had ended 100 fights in the first exchange. Alex sidestepped, not because he'd read the attack, but because he happened to be reaching down to retie his bootlace, having noticed it was loose 3 exchanges ago and simply gotten around to dealing with it now, and Karatha's own momentum carried him past. Alex straightened up and pushed him again, this time with an open palm to the shoulder blade. Karath hit the ground a second time. The crowd was no longer laughing. By the third fall, the Thrindle betting agents had stopped updating their boards entirely because the numbers had become meaningless. By the fourth, Karath had abandoned his readiness stance altogether, sides heaving, and was simply trying to put distance between himself and the human, something his species had no cultural memory of ever needing to do. "I don't understand," Karath rasped, all 4 arms trembling with a mixture of exhaustion and something that, on a human face, would have been called fear. "You give no warning, no tension, no intent. That's kind of the problem, yeah," Alex said, rolling his shoulder. He wasn't even breathing hard. "You're built to read the half-second before someone decides to hurt you. Real efficient, real elegant." He shrugged. "Doesn't help much when the guy in front of you never actually decided anything. I'm not fighting you, man. I'm just standing here, and you keep running into me." Emma, watching from the rail, allowed herself a small, private smile. She'd seen Alex do this before, against smugglers, against warlords, against exactly one deeply unpleasant AI construct that had tried to predict his every move using 6 years of historical combat data. It never worked, because Alex's approach to violence wasn't reactive or even strategic in the way most species understood the word. He simply moved with total, boring, unshakable calm toward wherever the fight needed to end, and treated every obstacle in that path, including 9-foot alien death machines, as something to be quietly, patiently walked through. Karath came at him a 5th time, more out of desperation than strategy, all 4 claws swinging in a wide, panicked arc that should have, by every metric his species trusted, connected with something vital. Alex ducked under it. Not a dodge, really, more like the unhurried motion of a man avoiding a low doorway he'd walked through 100 times, and drove a fist into Karatha's ribs. Karath went down a 5th time. He did not get up. The silence in the arena stretched for 3 full seconds before it broke into something that wasn't quite cheering and wasn't quite terrified murmuring, but a strange, uncertain mixture of both. 211 fights, undefeated, and it had ended not in a blaze of skill or violence, but in the same quiet, patient shove, repeated until the math simply gave out. Alex walked back toward the rail where Emma waited, already reaching for the ration bar in his jacket pocket. "You could have ended that in 1 hit," Emma said. "You had him from the first fall." "Yeah." Alex unwrapped the bar, entirely unbothered by the roaring stands, the trembling bookies, or the fact that he had just dismantled a living legend using what amounted to the fighting technique of a man annoyed at a revolving door. But he kept getting up. Seemed rude to stop him. Somewhere in the crowd, a Thrindle betting agent quietly deleted 6 years of predictive combat models and started, very carefully, taking notes on humans instead.